Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Mujaddid. Today I want to presenting a topic about drug abuse in sport. It is not a recently observed phenomenon that the extensive use of drugs for medicinal or other reasons has prevailed in society, and specifically in sport. In fact, throughout history, there are indications that athletes have sought a magic potion to give them that extra edge, to provide a shortcut to a good performance, or to enable them to compete under circumstances when otherwise it might not have been possible, such as injury or illness. In 668 before century, the winner of the 100-meter sprint at the Olympic Games was said to have used a special diet of dried figs. So when other athletes know about the fact, they assume that dried figs will make you win on the sprint at the Olympic Games. And then in 1896, the first reported drug-related death in sport was that of the cyclist Arthur Linton. It was reported that his coach administered cystine to enhance his performance. His coach was banned from the sport, presumably for his part in doping. And in 19th century, swimmers in the Amsterdam Canal races were thought to have used some form of stimulant. As were cyclists in the endurance events, the use of caffeine, cocaine, strychnine, either alcohol and oxygen, either alone or in combination, has been reported. And in 1940, the use of amphetamine-like substances reached a peak. These drugs were administered to combat troops in order to enhance their mental awareness and to delay the onset fatigue. Now there are some kinds of drugs that usually athletes use for abuse. There is stimulants, anabolic agents, beta blockers, diuretics, glucocorticosteroids, and blood doping. The first is stimulant. Stimulants is an overarching term that covers many drugs, including those that increase activity of the central nervous system and the body. Stimulants are widely used throughout the world as prescription medicine as well as without a prescription. Stimulants are widely used throughout the world as prescription medicines as well as without a prescription as performance-enhancing or recreational drugs. Among narcotics, stimulants produce a noticeable crash or come down at the end of their effects. Here is some kinds of stimulants. Number one, amphetamine, caffeine, cocaine, and nicotine. The presence of stimulant in the body may be tested by a variety of procedures. Serum and urine are the common sources of testing material, although saliva is sometimes used. Commonly used tests include chromatography, immunologic assay, and mass spectrometry. And then anabolic agents. Anabolic agent is steroidal androgens that include natural androgens like testosterone, as well as synthetic androgens that are structurally related and have similar effects to testosterone. They increase protein within cells, especially in skeletal muscles, and also have varying degrees of virilizing effects, including induction of the development and maintenance of masculine secondary sexual characteristics, such as the growth of facial and body hair. The most commonly employed human psychological specimen for detecting AAS usage is urine. Although both blood and hair have been investigated for this purpose, methods for detection of the substances or their excretion products in urine specimens usually involve gas chromatography mass spectrometry or liquid chromatography mass spectrometry. And then beta blocker. Beta blocker are a class of medications that are predominantly used to manage abnormal heart rhythms and to protect the heart from a second heart attack after a first heart attack. They are also widely used to treat high blood pressure, although they are no longer the first choice for initial treatment of most patients. Because they promote lower heart rates and reduce tremors, beta blockers have been used in professional sport where high accuracy is required, including archery, shooting, golf, and snooker. Next, diuretic. Diuretic is any substance that promotes diuresis, the increased production of urine. This includes forced diuretics. Diuretics increase the excretion of water from the body through the kidneys. In medicines, diuretics are used to treat heart failure, liver cirrhosis, hypertension, influenza, water poisoning, and certain kidney disease. Some diuretics, such as acetazolamide, help to make the urine more alkaline and are helpful in increasing excretion of substances such as aspirin in cases of overdose or poisoning. Diuretics are diuretics are sometimes abused by people with an eating disorder episode, especially people with bulimia nervosa, with the goal of losing weight. A common application of diuretics is for the purposes of invalidating drug tests. Diuretics increase the urine volume and dilute doping agents and their metabolites. Another use is to rapidly lose weight to meet a weight category in sports like boxing and wrestling. And then glucocorticosteroid. Glucocorticosteroids are part of the feedback mechanism in the immune system, which reduce certain aspects of immune function such as inflammation. With regard to athletes, the most interesting systemic effect of the glucocorticosteroid is energy production by stimulation of gluconeogenesis and mobilization of amino acids and fatty acids. Athletes also took them to alleviate pain and reduce tiredness, ignoring the possible adverse effects such as diabetes, myopathy, and growth retardation. And the last is blood doping. Blood doping is a form of doping in which the number of red blood cells in the bloodstream is boosted. Blood cells carry oxygen from the lungs to the muscles. A higher concentration in the blood can improve an athlete's aerobic capacity and endurance. Blood doping can be achieved by making the body produce more red blood cells itself during using drugs. And here is the bad effects of using drugs. For health, the arbitrary use of doping can harm health, namely an unattractive physical appearance such as being full of pimples. Besides that, it can cause heart attacks, cancer, liver disease, impotence in men, masculinization in women, hair loss, and other health problems. Fairness. The use of doping as a tool to increase ability causes matches to be unfair. Most athletes do not like to use illegal drugs to stimulate the muscle to support their performance, but athletes prefer to use the abilities gained from long training. If some athletes use doping to achieve peak performance, of course, this is an act that is not fair. Violence. The results of research on American football players show that nearly 80% use steroids. Every time they compete, they have to use steroids, so they often behave violently, even tend to have destructively towards other athletes. Here is some efforts to reduce doping use in sport. Athlete selection. The process of selection athletes is done randomly and with certain criteria. For example, in a measurable sport, there is a new record breaking that must be tested whether the athlete used doping or not. Notification. Informing the rights and obligation of athletes when doping tests. Report to the doping control room. Choose a sample collection tool, and the tool comes from the authorities and must be sterile. Then take sample, collect athlete's urine, and the minimum volume taken is 90 milliliters. The last is laboratory process. Measure the pH of the sample and conduct research on the urine sample, whether it contains substances though for now. Maybe that's all from me. I'm sorry for all my mistakes. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.